Hello again, and welcome to another episode in the series of interviews with Amazon authors. And today we are continuing the F Motherhood multi-author series with the amazing Brigid Holder, the publisher. And we have two more authors that contributed to the book who are waiting in the green room to come and have a chat with us. So we just finished a live with two amazing women, and now we are back. And Brigid, how are you again?
I'm fantastic. And yes, we are talking about the F Motherhood book. And I will quickly tell you how that came about. So I had struggled with motherhood for 10 years, and I had this vision that I would share my story through a book called F Motherhood, because I know that at some point in every mother's journey, she comes to that point where she says, F this is not what I signed up for. And I was like that for 10 years and hid my feelings and hid my journey and pretended that everything was okay and lived up to social expectations instead of sharing it and, healing through that journey. And, probably missed out on some joy as well. So my idea behind the book was that we would share stories so that we would give others permission to do motherhood their own way, listen to all the advice, but still choose to do it their own way. And the best way to do motherhood is your way, because it's the right way. So that's what I love about the book. And, it's available for everyone on Amazon. And you're going to share that link, aren't you, how we can jump over to Amazon while we're on here live and actually purchase the F Motherhood book. I love how the designer too, Adaire, I haven't mentioned this to you. This is a tightrope, and she's like carrying motherhood on her back. And then when you get around this side, you've got the younger teenage boy hanging off the tightrope. They really do test our patience, don't they? I loved how the designer did that with the book. So yeah. It's
absolutely gorgeous. Well, I'd have to say, the tech gods are really against us. They don't like us at all. Amazon is not playing. Oh, it is. It's decided to play. How exciting. Let's go.
Awesome. I
was just getting ready to chuck in the towel and end my live streaming producing career right then. But, it's not about me. It is about you.
Yeah, and Linda, you are right. It is a great cover. I do love it, how they've come up with the concept to carry motherhood on her back. Like that was, I was like, mothers are carrying so many hats, wearing so many hats and doing so much. And he came up with that. She came up with that concept of having the M on the back. Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that either, and I think that was really cool. And I'm glad that you explained it to us, because it's quite clever. It's very clever, and it's quite timely. Let's see. Okay, so you'll see in the stream there, in the comments in Facebook, My Time TV, or Women in Business Amplified. You will see that there is a little link there. You can jump over. Do come over and give our channel a little follow and hit the unmute button, and you'll hear us live over there. Say hi, because we would love to see you over there, as well as here on Facebook, LinkedIn. We're live on LinkedIn, and also on 50 channels of TV on demand through the Binge Network syndication program. And now Linda saying she was worried. That's it. It was Linda's fault.
Yeah, we have had a few F bombs dropped, and it was a bit of trouble last time. Jacqui is also joining us, saying, every time I hear how the F Motherhood came about, it is just so powerful. Thank you, Brigid, for giving mums permission to do and be themselves. Thank you, Jacqui, for actually sharing your story in the book. It's amazing the different stories and the different shares that you can learn from women in different ways and different stages of their motherhood.
We have two amazing authors that are sitting in the green room right now. We'd love to hear their stories. Who are we talking to first, Brigid?
We're going to talk to Aurea Wolf, who is actually in the United States, and a beautiful story that she shares in how she overcame a situation that she put herself into and questioned her own ability of judgment, and then, brought her children into that, and then now is creating a wonderful life for herself and her children. So thanks for joining us, Aurea.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome. That's so nice. So multi-author, multi-continent. I know you have an author from the UK as well. So really is a global contribution from mothers all around the world.
Yes, it is. Yeah. And it's motherhood is such a it's a hard job, and not many people will tell you that before you become a mother. And it's something that, there are some women who actually find it easy and joyful for every moment, and there are some older generation who say you've got to enjoy every moment. Well, F that. You can have your struggles and still love your children. It doesn't mean that you love them any less, or you're not less of a mother for not loving the whole process of motherhood.
Yeah. So, Aurea, I'm sorry. I'm going to, you have to correct me. Aurea,
like Aurea Light.
Oh, beautiful name. So if you could share a bit about how this story came to be, how you connected. I know Brigid said before, if you were watching the last episode that we did just recently, that she'll put it out to the universe and trust that the right people that are in the right space at the right time with the right words. So how did you connect with Brigid, and what prompted you? What was the catalyst that prompted you to put pen to paper and actually share your story?
I was trying to think of how I originally connected with Brigid. I'm not actually sure how we ended up in the same, atmosphere together. And I know I had seen her name pop up several times. So I had seen her around, and we'd been, I think, commenting and been in some groups together. It may have been like a Facebook group possibly. And then one day she just reached out to me and she said, "Hey, I'm putting together this book. I think that you have a really great story to share, and I think you would be, a good addition to the book. So would you like to hop on a call and talk about it?" And I said, "Sure, why not?" I've had people reach out to me for these kind of things before, and it never really resonated. But honestly, the title was a bit like confronting, and I was like, that is kind of in your face, but it is kind of below the surface, like a reality, like if we're being real. So I hopped on a call, and it actually ended up being a really quick call. She's like, "This is what it is. This is what we're doing. I've already seen you on Facebook, so I know that you'd make a great addition. So just let me know if you're interested." So I hopped in, and I think like some of the other ones, I was kind of like the final push. So I hopped on. I was like, "Okay, great." And then she's like, "Okay, that's due on Monday." And I was like, "Oh my God, how am I going to write all of this by Monday?" And then I was like, "You know what? I'm doing it." So yeah, I wrote it. And actually, I think she said I was the fastest contribution out of any of the people she's ever had. It just like flew out of my fingers.
Wow.
It just felt like the right time to share it,
Yeah. So you had a weekend as well.
Right.
Yeah. I wonder, Brigid, in your experience, if you have those really tight timeframes, do you think that produces a more authentic?
Well, my belief is that different people work different ways, but my belief is the faster they get it done, the more they are detached from the outcome, which is where a lot of people get in their head. So when you write in such a short time frame, you really write from the heart space, as long as you set yourself up properly. And I think that it is something that allows the person to then not go into judgment and comparison and all, because they don't have a lot of time with it. Those who have, weeks or months, on the other hand, could go into those. They don't all, but some people do. And it's always an opportunity to get it out of your heart space so quickly. And like Aurea said, is Aurea. I never knew I said your name wrong until today. It is that's the Australian accent, Aurea, you know, like it's easier for us to slang everything. So I will pronounce it correctly from now on, Aurea. Yeah, exactly. You shorten everything. Brianna is actually saying the fast approach is a great strategy in hindsight. And yeah, it is. But, you know, I would prefer people to have the option. But, you know, when they join at a point where I'm ready to produce the book, then I can't give them that option when I'm ready to produce the book. I do want to say though, I want to lead Aurea's conversation here with her opening line is the one that hit me the most, because I experienced domestic violence as a child. The opening line says, "Baby, we don't have time for shoes." And I can remember reading her story and thinking of a time when we actually, as a child, left my home with my mum, and my granddad was outside to take us to their place. And, you know, it was the middle of the night. We'd been woken up by dad in a rage and stuff. And, you know, that sharing of the mother's experience through this and was just such a beautiful thing for me to be able to witness, and for other women to see what's possible beyond that. And I really thank you for sharing that story, Aurea.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, it was obviously it was a pretty intense experience to go through as the mom, you know, and to be in that situation for, you know, it's not something that just happens suddenly and then it's there. It's like it's something that builds gradually over time. And you know, definitely not a situation I ever anticipated myself being in, you know. It seems like the kind of thing, it's always easier to see it from the outside. You know, you see it in other families and you think, oh, it's so obvious. Like I would never be in that situation. I would never allow that to happen, you know, in my life. And I would be out the door so fast. But, you know, when it builds gradually, you don't always realize it until you're in the thick of it, you know. And then when you have children in the mix, it's this weird juxtaposition where, like, knowing that this is a bad situation and you need to get your kids out of it. But then in my case, I had a fear because he would directly threaten me that if I left, then he would do things with the kids that were dangerous, you know, that would be bad for them. So trying to navigate that, like, how do I get us out for our safety while still keeping them safe? For, like, how do I protect them when they're with him and I'm not there to protect them, you know? So in my case, it took, like, getting to that point of just extreme life endangering situation to be able to know, okay, this is my chance. Now is the time we have to go. No shoes.
Yeah.
There's no time for shoes.
I love that Jacqui says that the opening line, she's read your story a couple of times and gets the chills every time. Thanks for sharing that, Jacqui. You had a question, Adaire, that you've asked most of the authors about the aha moment that they had during the process. So, Aurea, would you share that with us?
The aha moment? Do you mean like the aha about, like, my personal experience, or how like something new I realized about my experience during the writing? I'm sorry, was that the question?
Was that, as writing such powerful, vulnerable, personal stories will invariably cause some sort of cathartic release for perhaps healing, or for a different direction, or different thoughts, or different ways of seeing things. So is there, as the process of writing it is crammed into such a short space of time, I would imagine that the processes that come up emotionally and would be equally as powerful for learning for you, and for insights into what you've gone through. I
think for me, because obviously this was a pretty this was like a turning point moment in my life. You know, this was hugely dramatic, and my whole entire life changed from that moment. So I've put a lot of the last 4 years. I mean, it was exactly 4 years ago on the 20th of August that that event happened. So I've really dived pretty deep into personal development. I've done a lot of meditation. I've done a lot of self-exploration. I've done, like, everything I've done the last 4 years has been, how do I heal this and how do I change it so that I don't repeat that process again? That my kids don't fall into that trap of that behavior. Like, anything I can do, I've already explored and been doing. So I think for me, the main thing that happened out of this process was feeling like it's time to write it, it's time to share it, and it's time to not feel like I have to hide anymore. Yeah.
I love that. That is so, it is almost, it's profound to think that, you know, it's something that you hadn't shared so publicly before, and, you know, the people that you can touch and reach through that process. And it's a beautiful share. And, you know, I'm so appreciative that you got so vulnerable and shared it for women to be able to have that permission to change their reality.
Yeah.
We do have Linda is over on Amazon. We can't show her comments on this platform, but she is over there, and she's just saying that it's so powerful, and she can't imagine what it must have been like for you. So thank you, Linda, for that acknowledgement. And do you have I know that you do have to go on the hour, and we've just passed that, so you've got children somewhere that, you know, we need to collect. So so be mindful of that. Can you just share what you are hoping that maybe other people would get when they read your story and engage with it? What learnings there might be that you can transfer for others to take away?
Oh gosh, I mean, mainly that it happens, you know, no matter what you think, no matter how much you plan, you're never really, nobody's ever ready for kids, and nobody's ever sure the way things are going to unfold. So that it's okay if things didn't go the way that you originally envisioned and planned them, that it's okay. And it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you or that you're a failure in any kind of way. It's just that sometimes life throws things at you and you have to figure out how to navigate it, and that you have to have the courage sometimes, even though it's scary, to get out of something and find a new way forward. And that no matter how bad it has been, and no matter the rough spots you go through, there's always hope, and you can always keep moving forward and always keep moving towards something better.
Beautiful. That is, I think that's it gives hope to people in similar situations, and really appreciate you sharing that. And so it's so good that you're part of this this whole project in the F Motherhood, the F Motherhood multi-series author book. Is there any final words that you'd like to say before we have a chat with Cortney and let you go to pick up your children?
Two. I have two. Yeah. Just I really hope that everybody gets a chance to read this book. There are so many different stories, and every one is a different angle because it's through a different set of eyes and a different woman's experience. And that there's no way to do motherhood wrong. It's you know, everyone has their own journey. And just really honoring yourself and being authentic to you is really my main message. Trying to help people embrace who they really are and not try to feel like they have to fit in a certain box, because it leads, and no matter who it is, it kind of leads to a different set of disasters.
That is so true. Jacqui has commented that she loves how you say, don't realize until you're in the thick of it. And that's, you know, a beautiful takeaway from your story that she has for everybody as well. So thank you, Aurea, for being with us. And we do realize you have to go. We're very mindful of the time. We don't want you to be late to pick up the children. So thank you so much for sharing in the book, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, wow. There's so many amazing people that you're connected with, and women that you bring to and help them bring their stories out of vulnerabilities and hope and changing perspectives. And it's really so powerful, Brigid. So kudos to you for doing this, because it is, like you said, it can be quite controversial. Yeah. And we are definitely living in a world where controversy reigns supreme at the moment. So.
Yeah. Well, kudos to this next woman we're going to talk to, because I have to tell you the little backstory about Cortney and how she came to be in the book. And when she actually spoke to me first about it, she was like, as she put it, verbal diarrhea in the Facebook Messenger. She basically shared the whole story in a messenger, like 3,000 words almost. That's what it felt like anyway. And I was actually
I'm going to bring her in.
I read the story straight away, and then I took days to get back to her. But in my mind, I had replied to her. And when I actually got back to her and I said, "Oh my gosh, Cortney, I'm so sorry. I thought I'd already replied to you, but it must have just happened in my head and not on my actual messenger." And she was like, "Well, I've been accused of being too much, and I just thought I was too much for you." And I was like, "Oh, now I want you in this book even more, because, there's so many women who actually think that they are too much, and we shouldn't be dimming their lights, because they're the ones who are going to be, standing up on the podium and sharing their story and allowing us to change this reality that we're living in. And they're the ones that we want to hear screaming from the rooftops about injustices in the world and things that are, can be done differently. And you're certainly taking that platform to another level on TikTok and your Instagram. And I'm loving watching that unfold. But we're here to talk about the F Motherhood book. Oh, sorry. The F Motherhood book. Oh, look, Cortney's got hers too. Is Cortney still on mute? Have you got her unmuted yet? There she is.
Oh, you can hear me now?
Yeah.
I was worried I was going to be the first one to drop the F-bomb. I was like, all day, I was like, don't say it. Say the abridged version right here. Don't say the word. And then, as I said earlier to you guys when we were off air, my kids were fighting down here and I was screaming at them. And I'm like, I probably already done it. I probably already just messed that up. I'm glad that I haven't done it yet. Brigid, it was you. Like, I saw you.
Sorry about that. My apologies to those in Amazon Live and on Facebook who are offended by that word.
The world didn't end last time.
Yeah.
And I think we will continue this time. It's all going to be fine. It is what it is. So, welcome, Cortney. I'm just so curious now. I just want to say, before we get into the conversation, that we are live on Facebook on mytimetv.live or on Women in Business Amplified. We are also on LinkedIn on my personal profile, and we are on Amazon Live. So please pop over there. We'd love to see you over there. You can purchase the book directly from the link that's just come into the comments down here. And it's amazon.com shop, mytimetv.live. Pop over. Linda's over there. She looks a bit lonely over there, but no, she's got a few people over there. And so just say hi from Amazon. You can say hi from here. Please do remember that the more people you help hear these stories, the better the world's going to be, because we're all learning from each other about how to be vulnerable, how to share our stories in a way that's safe, and we can drop the F-bomb and give each other permission to be exactly who we are and stop being sheeple. So
sheeple, I love that term.
So now, Cortney, you are unmuted. The floor is yours.
Okay.
And Mike's here. Do we know Mike?
Hi, Mike. Yes, that's a friend of mine.
Okay.
So cool. Good on you, Mike.
Are you in the US or is a?
Yes, I'm in the United States. I'm in Omaha, Nebraska.
Oh, okay. So we've had two from the US today, which is fantastic. Like I said, multi-continent, multi-author, multi-continent book.
Awesome. Lots of time zones. Also multi-time zone. That's another one.
Yes. Very eclectic. We've got Libby here as well. Yeah.
Hi, Libby. So all my peeps are showing up.
We love you, peeps. just pop over onto Amazon as well. You can pop over there, say hi here, and then pop over to Amazon. So, Cortney, when you did that, what do you call it? Verbal diarrhea? What?
I do that all the time. That is a regular occurrence. It's like a chronic condition.
Tell me what's happening. What? How did that all come about?
How did I find Brigid? How did she find me? Okay, so that I actually had to go back and figure that out at a point, because I am a lot, whether, Brigid's like, oh, don't feel that way. I'm like, no, really, I am. No, it's okay. It's okay. I've come to grips with this. I'm kind of a million miles per hour. I do a lot of things like all at once, and I go all in with anything I go into. So I'm also a single mom. So my motherhood story is a little bit different than a lot of the other women here. Is I'm a single mom, and I've remained being a single mom for many, many, many years. So I'm often a one-woman show balancing a lot of balls I'm juggling at any given time. And at a point, I kind of dropped a bunch of them on purpose. I lost my job back in November. That was a long time ago. Back in May, and after that ended, I knew that I had some time in between, having to figure out what I wanted to do next. And I really wanted to write something. And so I started writing something, and I've been writing something for a while. And I had a lot of stories about being a mom and about my kids and about motherhood. But my story wasn't about that. It was about being like a woman in corporate America and high finance and what that's like. And it's not always fun. Spoiler. But I kind of left my kids out of that. And they're such a huge part of who I am, because I'm very creative and very artistic. I'm a painter. I'm a visual artist. I do a lot of different things. And they're my greatest piece of work. Like, my kids are absolutely incredible human beings. And I know a lot of people that were in this book, talked about different levels of not really being prepared to go into motherhood, etc. For me, I have a very complicated relationship with my own mother. So there was a lot of I'll go right out and say it at this point. There was a lot of emotional abuse between her and I, and not just her and I, but to me and my kids. When I first got divorced, I had to live with her as an adult with my children, and that was a terrible experience all around. And she always made me feel like I wasn't enough, and I was too much. And I was never good enough, and I'd never actually accomplish anything. And anytime I'd fail at something, she would make that an incredibly personal thing. Like, I told you would do that. If you had followed my advice and done this, this, and this instead, you would be in such a better place. And so I've always lived not trusting myself. And I was starting to get to a point where I was at this job where my boss reminded me a lot of my mom. And it was getting bad and bad and bad. And then I just dropped it and was like, I'm done. And I swear to God, a week later, I don't even know how I ended up in this group, because other people are saying Facebook groups. I think I was looking at author groups or something. And somehow a message of Brigid's came up and said, "Are you an unconventional mother?" I'm like, "Yes, I am." And I think I even repeat, I think that is exactly how I replied. I'm like, "Me? That would be me. I don't even know why you're asking or who you are, lady, but that's me." And she told me to send tell me why, send me a message. I'm like, sure. And I just sat down, and it was, I literally, that's the most embarrassing part about the 3,000 word thing is I'm sitting here doing this on my phone too. I'm just I was just typed it all out, hit send, walked away, forgot about it, completely forgot that it was even a thing that I had done at any point in time. Because it was right after I'd lost my job, and I was on this, what am I doing with my life now? Hi. And then I kind of figured it out and was working on other things. And then she pops up, was like, "I forgot to respond to you." And I'm like, "Oh, cool." And then we had a video chat a day or two later. And I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm totally in. Yeah, that's exactly what I need to be doing right now." Because I really wanted to get to this point after I lost this job of I want to move on to something else that's more creative. And just jumping off that cliff of not the 9-to-5 job and this grind that I've been stuck in for a really long time that doesn't suit me. I need to move out into something else. And I needed a bravery test. And I've got a lot of courage, but then I also will overthink things, and I'll talk myself out of something. There is so much anxiety that goes on in there where I'm like, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. I'm going to run away now, and I do that a lot. And when you sign up for something like this, you can't, because Brigid's going to be there. She's going to be like, "Cortney, you need to get this in now." And I'm like, but then everybody in my life has put all of these things I'm supposed to do for them. She's like, "This needs to be done now." I'm like, "Okay, this is done now." And it was I think I'm constantly seeking out, and this is hopefully Brigid, not a little too much for you here, but like, I think I'm always constantly seeking out mother figures because I've had to be that for myself along with my kids. And Brigid definitely has this mother figure thing going on, but she's like the mother figure, at least I wanted, that I didn't have, where she's like, you got to get this done. You got to get it done now. And you did a great job. And that's that. And then you just move on with your life and you do other stuff. And it's like, you're not like holding on to this like feeling of like you let somebody down, or I don't know. Like, I think joining this group of women completely changed like how I see interacting with other women. And that was very important to me because, as I said, like my very first mother figure, my actual mother, the very first woman I ever interacted with in the world was a very difficult person to continue to have a relationship with, if that makes sense. So there was some verbal diarrhea there. I told you, it's a chronic condition. It just comes out.
I think it is. You're wonderful. Like Jacqui said, you are a lot, and it's a lot of freaking amazing. Your energy is infectious. And Brianna saying that you're speaking her language, rejuggling. I think that's great. Like she said, it's riding that bike along the tightrope, the unicycle along the tightrope. It's not just identify
with this like a lot. Except for I'd be like falling over and then also not figuring out the tech, and then my kids would be actually fighting with each other, like punching each other on the tightrope while I'm going, and I'm like, well, I guess this is just how life is now.
I just make it. I feel like I'm talking to the Tasmanian devil on Looney Tunes.
Yeah, he goes around the room.
This is great. Love your energy, Cortney. Just a little thing. We've got Linda over on. There's a few people over on Amazon, and she said she just transgressed. She's just messaged our group chat. She's just transgressed Amazon community guidelines by writing the F-bomb in the comments. So we know now.
Linda.
Yeah, I know.
We're not allowed to say that word. I just want us to respond to you saying, you seek out mother figures. And I think that's an interesting thing because, the first group of authors who went through with me in a multi-author book, Intuitive Knowing Her Truth, actually coined the phrase for me, the book mum. And it's something that I think that I've coached a few soccer teams, like my children's soccer teams, and I can never remember the parents' names, but I remember all the children's names. So perhaps it is. It's the mother in me, that mothering instinct in me that draws people towards me. I love what Mike has said as well. Cortney, you are one of the strongest women I know. One thing I love the most about you is that you don't give an F about what anyone else thinks about how you live your life. And that's how we should all live our life. You're the prime example of how motherhood should be. And it's your way. Well, because your way is the best way.
For me, yeah, and for my kids. And, as I said, like I think joining this book, and one of the first like press things I did with Sarah, and halfway, like we were about to start, I'm like, oh, hold on a second, let me go grab my kid, and went and grabbed him and like roped him into talking on air, with these women all talking about these things. Because my kids are a little bit older, like my oldest kid is 13, and he is such a woman's advocate, and he is so well spoken that I'm like, I did that to these people. I made these people into this because that was something that I was with my relationship with my own mother, is I felt like I was always having to raise myself. Like she would teach me to do something, and then I would do that. And the reaction to that from other people is like, maybe that's not what I should be doing. And then I'd have to figure out how to interact with people, and particularly women. Like my mom was one of those people who hates other women. Like, it's like, she's jealous of you, or she's doing this, like constantly weaving this total suspicion. And like, I should never trust other women other than her. And so then I would like go in the exact opposite direction. I'd trust other women way too much, and I'd give them way too much power over my life. And I'm answering a question you haven't even asked me yet. You're talking about the aha moment, and mine didn't actually come. So I'm just going to interview myself.
We can go with that. We can leave.
Just keep going.
Yeah, that's all right.
It's just me, and I'm just talking to myself. This is why I started podcasts, because I'm like, I can just talk to myself for hours. But what I did was like, I got through this whole process. And afterwards, the day that the book was out there, and it was out there, I finally realized who my friends were, who my family was, and the people I needed to cut out of my life. And I had been trying to figure out who was who for a very long time. And the day it came out, you know, people who were supposed to be very close to me, like my significant other, for example, my mom, my sister, my best friends, and they, instead of like, congratulations, this is awesome, I'm going to go buy that book, was just like, here's my problem that you need to help me work out right now. And I'm like, no, not today. That is not today. Today I do this. And I did that instead. And all day I was starting to realize, I'm like, I give my energy, so much of it, to so many people who do not deserve it. And I mother them. You know, I also have that, you know, the mother archetype. You know, I've been recently looking a lot into the triple goddess, where you've got the maiden, mother, and crone. And I'm definitely square in the mother, you know, section in my life, where I want to mother everybody and I want to take care of everybody. And that's part of the reason why I wanted to be part of this book, was that I can say something and tell a story once, and it can get out to a lot of people, rather than having to say it over and over again, or, you know, put it into different forms. But like, my aha moment was so life affirming. And I think a lot of women in this book had kind of had that way before this book was released. But this book was that for me, was the moment of, I am worthy. I can handle this. I can handle anything that comes at me. I can do whatever the heck I want to do. And I didn't cuss there. Heck I want to do with my life. And I can live my dreams. And I can also cut out anybody who is going to be holding me down. And I have. And I really thank Brigid for that, for giving me this opportunity, and for being, you know, a mom, because she was a mom to all of us here too. So thank you.
Is Brandy a friend of yours?
It's another friend of mine.
She's got you. She's got your number there, girl.
You do try to, yeah, I do. I do mother everybody.
So the essence of your story, just to circle back, was about, just give us the potted version of the essence of the story that you wrote, that you put together. Was that the story that you wrote to Brigid in the messenger, or was that one that you actually penned in a document? Or
I think I might have actually had about 4 to 5 different stories that Brigid got from me before the finished version came out. The first version was, I think, explaining to her where I was in my life at that point after I'd been fired from my job. And then the next one was very angry towards my mother. And then the third version, the one that actually got published, was me just editing the whole thing down to what it should be, because I think I may have sent her way more than 3,000 words. The first time, I have a lot of words. If you can't, there's a lot of words that come out of my mouth, and my head and my fingers. So the last version, the one that actually got published, I broke it down into a formula for parenthood. And that's how I parent my kids, which is, you know, I have to be honest with them, like painfully honest, because, you know, I am a single mom. I am the only parent figure in their lives. If they need something, it has to come from me. And I actually honestly hate that, because that puts a lot of pressure on me too, where it's like, all the other kids have this, but I can't give that to them, you know? But they've grown up understanding the why behind it, why they know when to ask me things, when not to ask me things, usually know when to fight in the living room and not to fight in the living room. Today was an exception. But like, honesty, trust, like they have to trust me as much as I trust them, because if they don't trust me, then I have to go in with force and I have to scare them. And I do not ever want to scare them or go in with force. And sometimes I do, trust me, sometimes I do. Like earlier today, there's a lot of screaming, but it's like they know when my voice goes from like the mom voice, which is, you know, like kind of an even, you know, like listen to me voice, to I am going to kill you. That is, you know, you listen right now and you do whatever you need to do, because I save that up instead of that being my default, which I think a lot of times moms either go from being too passive or too aggressive, and then, or passive aggressive. Like I had to do this like balancing act of making sure that I was not putting the damage that I had put on me onto them. And I still, even when I wrote that chapter, still questioned all the time, am I my mother? Am I her? Have I turned into her? You know, am I denying who I am? Like she denies who she is. And it was again, after the book came out, that I actually sat down, and how my kids the day it came out, I sat down on the floor and I read it out loud to them. And at the end of it, I was sobbing. And I was like, I didn't even know how emotional I was on this until I'm reading it to them, because then afterwards I had to look them right in the eye and say, is this who I am as a mother? It's gonna make me cry now. I was like, is this who I am? Like, did I say this honestly? Because I think this is who I am, but I don't know. You know, I would never know, because, you know, you're my kids. You are who eventually is going to judge who I am as a mom. And it's their job to judge whether or not I did a good job or not. It's not mine, you know, past when they're adults, you know. And they both were like, yeah, that's 100% you. Like, that is so you know, you're doing great. And it was a very emotional thing there, but it's a formula to parenthood is what or to single momhood, where if you're the sole parent that is laying down all of the lessons and the everything, really. I've been everything for my kids from beginning to end for many, many years now. And it's been a lot, but shut it up. Yes, I see.
No, I just want to breathe for
You've been getting like red over here and like sweating because I'm starting to cry.
I know they really acknowledge and honor you for that, and your and what you're bringing out is just it's really appreciate you sharing. We do have Linda over on Amazon who has said thoroughly chastised and knows her place now over there. She says, wow, Cortney, what a story. And I'm totally blown away. But what popped into my mind, and you sort of covered it a little bit, so you've anticipated everything. This girl, her intuition's like way up there.
Yeah. Like 5 steps ahead always.
So what I was thinking about was, if I'm your child, because you're the first author that has been in this series has actually brought their mother into it, which I think adds a different dynamic and certainly a different element to it. And that whole questioning about, am I my mother? That's, I went through that with, am I my father? That was agonizing for me. And so I'm sort of relating, and I'm getting goosebumps, so I know I'm starting to cry. So she's made us all cry.
I have a tendency to do that.
Oh, but what I wanted to know was, when you because that's deep stuff. That's really deep stuff. What do you hope for? One of the questions that we do ask is like, what learnings do you hope that people will take away as a result of reading your story? But I'd like to know that. But I'd also like to know, you've said that you've sat down, you've read the story to your children. So fast forward 20 years into the future, and your children have got now a bit of perspective, and they pick up the book. What do you hope that they will find when they pick up the book?
Oh, goodness. That is such a good question. Now you're going to make me cry. It actually makes me think. I have one of these copies, and I kind of wanted to do that. I was thinking about it. I was thinking about writing in like the cover, like address it to them both and write something in that, and maybe give it to, like, if they have children, the mother of their children is kind of what I was thinking to do, because motherhood is very special. It's a girls' club. I'm not going to like go into like gender roles or anything, but creating something in your body and then having that come out of your body, and then you have to take care of that thing that was in your body. That's something that's truly unique to mothers and women. And my children, they're very nurturing as boys, and they're both boys, to animals and other kids and stuff. But what I want from them to get from this is, I know that they know, and they will always know, that it was never easy for me. It wasn't easy, but that I didn't ruin their childhoods because of that. I didn't resent them for it. Like, it's your fault our life isn't easy. It's more of like, I made all these choices and I'm still juggling to keep this all together. I need you guys to keep your stuff together, to not, so I don't drop too many balls at one time. But that is such a good question. I'm going to have to really think on that one. And I think that is probably exactly how I'm going to address like what I was going to write in the cover too. I kind of wanted, because I bought a ton of copies for myself. I wanted to have one for each of them, for like, if they ever have children, to give it to their wives, because, or, girlfriends, whatever. But I don't know if they'll ever understand who I am and what I am in an entirely complete way, because they will never be moms, and they will never, they're always going to be like white boys growing up in America. And that's a very different thing than me, being a single mom in America. So gosh, that is such a good question. That you stumped me with that one. I have so many words.
Her from talking.
Wow. Gosh, you just took that right out of me.
Can I just chime in for a minute? I love the single mum formula, and I just want to read it out so everybody can hear it. It's honesty plus respect plus apologizing when I am wrong equals healthy kids. And I think that, in that I learned some lessons, because I hate being wrong, especially I do not like them winning an argument. No. And, my 11-year-old calls me out on it. My 12-year-old calls me out on it all the time. I know, right? And I think that it's a beautiful lesson for any mum, not just for single mums or those who are the primary carer. It's something that, apologizing when you are wrong is really hard for a lot of people. And that lesson that you've taught, Cortney, of, and in your chapter you expand on that. And I implore people to read it, because it is really an opportunity for us to grow through whatever it is, whatever challenge we've got. And that opportunity to apologize when you're wrong is something that is a lesson in itself. And even if you're not a mum, if you're a dad, to be apologizing just when you're wrong.
Person, as a general person. So my kids are actually getting better at that themselves, which is good. And they call me out when I'm doing that, when I'm, and it'll happen if I'm upset, and I'll be like, I don't want to talk about this right now. And they'll be like, but you said, I'm like, actually, let's set this down. You guys go away. And then when I'm calm, we'll come back and be able to talk to it, because I've started to realize a lot of times what will get me off of that track is anger in the moment. Like you have to like set it down and let it go. Because usually I just want to verbally diarrhea on everybody, like get up on my soapbox and like lecture my kids, when I realize I need to be listening to them, that they might have a perspective that I'm not thinking about at all, because I actually don't know what their life is right now. Because again, they're a different gender than me, and they go to school in this weird time of COVID. There's so much weirdness going on. I couldn't even imagine what their life is like. So it's good to be able to take a step back and realize that, lives are so incredibly different now that, they're also super helpful, which I wanted to throw out there, that my name, I think, is the only one that had been put on there without a last name. And at first it was lowercase c. And that's because my oldest son was helping me set all this up, and he just put my name in, and I didn't realize it was going to be what was on my banner. I'm like, oh, how do I edit this? And I was trying to figure it out earlier, and I'm like, I'm just going to go with it. I'm just like Cher, just like first name only.
Tell me what you want that's there. Tell me.
Oh, don't even worry about it. I have so many last names, and none of them make sense, because I have like my ex-husband's last name, and then I have my maiden name, and Cortney is it's perfect. That's just, yes.
Cortney is amazing. Yeah, that's so good.
Perfect.
Oh, dear. But it makes it for television. There's one I prepared earlier. So
I love that.
Well, we might have to put pause on this conversation, ladies. Cortney, you are a powerhouse, and every single author that we've had in this series has been amazing, absolutely spectacularly amazing, and they bring their own energy, their own perspective, their own story. But the thing that joins it all together is that incredible vulnerability that gives permission for people who are watching or hearing or reading these stories to be able to be themselves and step into who they are in the way that suits them the best. And I think that's something that I'm getting goosebumps now, because it's a really, really powerful thing. So do we have, I'm just going to ask Brigid to give us a bit of a wind up, and Cortney, I'm going to give you 2 minutes. Any last words? After 2 minutes, I'm going to mute you, love.
I give you permission for that. That is fair. Fair and reasonable.
Oh God, that's brilliant. So I want mothers to understand that, there's so many different ways to mother, and that you have this opportunity with this book, F Motherhood, to see through the eyes of 14 different mothers that the the thing that they share in this book, because there's nowhere near the whole picture. And it's something that you need to take into consideration when you are, doing motherhood your way, is that you can do it your way, and you can listen to all the advice and do it your way anyway. And when times get tough, do speak to somebody. Don't keep hiding, and don't allow it to overwhelm you and, create this problem for you going forward. We want it to be a solution, this book.
Beautiful. I know it sounds like you've got a bunch of
I saw that. Fair. It's also fair. If I ever won something, I'd probably be up there and be like, okay, now I would like to thank my kindergarten teacher, and just start rattling off. I also have what, again, my mom always used to point this out with me. I have a photographic memory, which has been a curse. That is a curse. If I was a man, I would have been a doctor or something. But instead, I can just remember anything anybody's ever said to me. So somebody will say something. I'm like, no, you didn't say it like that. It was this. And, I can just rattle back through it. And I've had to actually just turn that off over the last couple of years, and just let myself be and be like, you know what? People can change. People can change their minds. People can change who they are. And I think that's kind of what I really love about this book, is that the end part of my chapter, I talk about how my first version was really harsh, and it was incredibly harsh. And then I had met up with my mom in between one version and the other, and was like, I need to give her more grace, and I need to give her a break. And so then I edited it, and I did give her a break. It was a lot kinder the second time around. And then afterwards, she got maybe mad again. And I went back and read it, and I thought about it. I was like, you know what? This was actually perfect, because my mom refuses to read it. She thinks that I'm bashing her. And my sister refuses to read it because I bashed our mother publicly. And I'm like, if you actually read it, you'll realize that I didn't at all. But that's what you're assuming and deciding not to read it. And I'm so proud of what I ended up putting out there in the end, because it really does tell the story in the lightest way possible. I could have gone a lot darker, and I don't want to go darker again. I already lived that. And I'm okay with that being in the past now. And I really love the opportunity that Brigid gave me to be able to go out and just say it all and let the chips fall. And they did. And it's greatly improved my life working with Brigid. So I would highly recommend that to anybody watching or thinking about, maybe joining into one of these books. You totally should. It's life-changing.
Just know that, yes, if you see this, do reach out to Brigid, because there is opportunities and books that are coming up. So do you want to give that a bit of a plug?
Yeah. Oh, thank you so
Brigid,
much.
Please.
Thanks, Cortney. So we do have 2 books at the moment: Intuitive, Speaking Her Truth, which really does allow the woman who is an intuitive and is speaking her truth to share how she got to that place in her life, because often it is something that we get taken away from us through our social expectations or our religion or our culture, and then it comes back to us, and now we're able to have that platform. And the other book is a real passion project of mine, which is called Hear Her Roar, which is for successful women who have experienced domestic violence. And the reason that I'm doing this book is to show women what's possible beyond the current circumstances that they live in, and perhaps allow them the opportunity to leave that little bit earlier than they may have done without the book.
It might be time for me to put up my hand. I've had the title of the book for probably about the last 12 years. It's called Don't Tell Me No. And I have
that is a great title. That is an amazing title. You should do it.
The book has been energetically written. It just needs to be have an avenue to actually come out in real life. So yeah, watch this space.
We need to talk about that.
Yeah, I was like, here, I think if it's going to this, Brigid is right here.
This one, yeah.
Is it this? Okay, I'm like, she's over either here or here, and she's an amazing book mom. So
whichever way you think it is, it's the other way. All right, ladies, so much for your time. I look forward to coming back next week at the same time for the next installment in the F Motherhood multi-author Amazon live influencer series. Yeah. No, I need to take it there. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.